All right, ladies, welcome to week 7, energy management and elevation. I'm really excited about this module here. I think it's perfect timing. I think this is exactly what we need to remember. And the more that I go about my business, the more that I learn and grow, the more I interact with more clients, the more that I hire people, the more money my business makes. It really boils down to what I'm sharing in this module today. And so we're going to really explore the ways to increase your energy, to amp up your vibration, to set and stick to personal and business boundaries. We're going to talk about how to turn the blinders on to anything that does not support your higher vision. So, we talked a little bit about this before with your wealth bubble, but it really is important for you to protect your energy at all costs. Also, we're going to be talking about how to keep your vibration at a place that is in the most attractive state. So, a lot of times we feel like the high vibe is the most attractive state, and I'm going to be busting that myth today and talking about the actual place where you want to be in order to be in a really attractive state for money, for clients, for opportunities, and for things to just go your way. Um, I really am excited again to just do this because I think that if you can audit yourself, like if you can really manage your energy and pay attention with ease and with conviction, how you're operating on your day to day, your moods, your bandwidth, you'll be able to really do anything. I mean, I really believe that your job is to maintain your energy, and everything else is just a minor detail. I really truly believe that, based on my current life and business and everything that I've learned over the last 7 years within this business, working with thousands of people, running hundreds of different programs. Your job is to maintain your energy. Everything else is just a minor detail. So I want you to remember that, stamp it on your forehead if you need to. But this definitely is your call to action right here. It's like, how can you just be so diligent in making sure that your energy is in a place that other people want to be around, essentially, right? Like, other people are going to want to be around you, they're going to want to pay to be around you. It all has to do with the energy. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is energy leaks and distractions. So, energy leaks would be anything that drains your energy, right? Pretty self explanatory. But this could be something that is kind of hiding in plain sight. It could be something that you don't realize is pulling away from your energy. You don't realize it's bringing you down. So, this is why it's so important to be aware. This is why it's so important for us to work on ourselves every single day. This is why it's so important for us to ground ourselves into who we desire to be. So I want you to take a look at your life, your current life. What are some of the energy leaks? You could also look at it as like a distraction, right? So this could be maybe scrolling on social media and kind of getting sucked into conversations, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. It's sometimes easy to want to be a part of the conversation or be a part of the argument, on some instances. But it is really important for us to know, like, what is it? Is it that you're giving too much attention to one thing that you're not getting attention back from? Is it somewhere where you may be in limbo with something, maybe a decision that hasn't been made? We talked about this in one of the previous modules. But a lot of times, also being in limbo with something is a huge energy drain because we're constantly thinking about it, right? When a decision is not made, we are in a place where we're like, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And that is a huge energy drain. It's a huge distraction. It takes us away from where we actually need to be. It takes us away from actually living. It takes us away from actually being in our purpose. So I want you to kind of consider all of these things. Really look at your life, look at your day to day, look at what's happening in your business, look at what's happening, even within like your client interactions, your social media interactions, your sales interactions, like interactions with your team. Then also on the flip side, look at your personal life, your interactions with your children, maybe friends or family or your spouse. Like really think about like where in my life is the energy being like sucked out of me, right? So energy leaks, any kind of distractions. I know for me, like when, a lot of this stuff hit in the world, like I would get like, and because I'm an investigator, so I'm someone who wants to seek the truth. I'm someone who wants to seek the facts. So I spend a lot of time like watching YouTube videos and trying and reading articles on the newspaper and checking in with like updates on the virus. And so I spent a lot of time, like that was a huge, huge, huge distraction, right? But not only a distraction, but an energy leak, because then I would start to round up like these emotions of like, I don't know what's true and I don't know what's not. So, it's not to say that I don't want you to be aware, and it's not to say that you have to completely put yourself into a bubble, but set limits for things. So, when I get into this rampage of like just like checking the news all the time and checking for updates and finding out what's going on, I realized that I was doing it, and I was like, you know what? I still want to be informed. I still want to know what's going on, but I'm going to limit it. So I can check once in the morning and once in the evening. Eventually it got to a point where it's like I didn't even want to check anymore. So this is just an example. For you it could be something else. Again, like I said, it could be social media, it could be spending time on Instagram, it could be spending time on scrolling on Facebook, it could be reading trash magazines, it could be watching trash TV. Like really think about like what are these energy leaks or distractions? Is there anybody that you maybe have a quarrel with or that you're kind of butting heads with? Again, same thing. It's like this is taking away from you being in a really good energy. Any other distractions that you might have, anything that's pulling you away from your ultimate purpose, your ultimate focus. And then finally, like I said, it's the decisions. So, is there any decisions that have to be made? Is there anything that feels like it's in limbo? Now, I want to make a caveat to this because obviously there's things that are in your control and there's things that are out of your control. So if there's something in limbo that is in your full control, i.e., you have to make a decision, yes or no, either way, and you just haven't been, or you've been avoiding it, or you've been avoiding a conversation with someone, this is a huge energy leak. It's a huge energy drain. And even if you're outwardly, spending time like posting or sending emails or, being on calls with clients, you have this other side of you that is literally like a faucet just like draining your energy. So we've got to be on the up and up with everything. We've got to be in alignment with who we say we are, and we're going to actually be diving into that in a little bit. So any decisions that need to be made, any conversations that need to be had, anything else that maybe is in limbo or you're unsure about, I implore you to just make that decision as quickly as possible. Yes, no, or I'm going to get back to you by X date, right? So that way you don't really have to think about it. Now, like I said, there are some things that are obviously out of your control. Like maybe you're waiting to see if you get approved for a loan. Maybe you're waiting to see if something follows through, right? So in those instances, you want to also make sure that you want to detach. You have to detach because otherwise you're going to be spending all your time wondering and worrying, and it's not even something that you can change. So just be really, really cognizant of where you're spending the majority of your thinking, right? The majority of your decision making or your worries, right? That's another way that you can kind of look at it. And then also just one more thing when it comes to this, I wrote it down, and at first I was like, I'm not sure why I wrote that down, but for me it was curiosity. So is there anything that like you're just curious about, but you're not jumping the gun on, or you're trying to figure something out? This can also be a distraction. Obviously, curiosity could also be a really good thing, but again, I just want you to check yourself on what's really happening in my day to day. Where am I spending most of my time? Where am I spending most of my headspace? Right. I know for me, another really good example of this was when I was before I started on my weight loss journey. I spent so much time thinking about food. Like literally, my entire day was thinking about my next meal, Or after I ate, it was about regretting what I ate. And so I spent so much time and so much headspace um in thinking about food. And it was just like I noticed that I was doing that, and I just didn't realize like how much headspace it actually took. And here's the deal. When it comes to things like that or any of the things that I mentioned before, a lot of times it becomes a way of life. And so we almost get to a point where it's like, well, I don't know who I am without that. Like if I didn't spend all of my time thinking about food or regretting the choices I made when I actually did eat, who would I be? Where would the worry be? What would I be like? What would be the struggle, right? And remember, a lot of us are just addicted to the struggle. So we look for these things. It's like we try to figure things out. We try to, just maybe indulge ourselves, but we're indulging ourselves in the wrong thing, right? Like we're indulging ourselves in this limbo and this curiosity and this like things that just don't serve us. So that is definitely the first thing that I want you to do, is to just evaluate. And maybe it's a reevaluate at this point, since we've already gone through 6 lessons where we've talked about some of these things. But really just pay attention. Like this needs to be a daily thing, a daily check. Like where am I doing this? Where am I giving up headspace? Where am I distracted? What is leaking my energy? Now, what I want you to think of is, what are the things that make you feel good? So if you look at your life and you kind of replay in your head your week, or maybe your day, or maybe your month, I want you to think of all the things that make you feel good, all of the things that make you feel good, okay? And literally brain dump, just write a list. What are all the things that make me feel good? It makes me feel good when my husband comes and decides that he's going to cook so I don't have to. It makes me feel good when the kids clean up after themselves. It makes me feel good when I get a new client. It makes me feel good when my client has a win. It makes me feel good when I work out. It makes me feel good when I dance. It makes me feel good when I can have a spa day. It makes me feel good when I can take a bubble bath. So just really think of like literally everything that makes you feel good. Now, next, I want you to think of everything that makes you feel shitty. Okay? So, what in your life makes you feel shitty? Is it when people don't pay on time? Is it when you feel like you have to do everything around the house? Is it when you feel like you have to pay bills and you don't have enough money? Is it when you have a conversation with your mother? Is it when you get into a fight with someone online? Think about also like things and people that drain your energy, right? That makes you feel shitty, right? If you know every time you get into a conversation with someone, it turns into a fight, that's pretty shitty. That's energy draining. Maybe you have a best friend that calls you all the time and she only calls to complain. Maybe you're working with the wrong clients and you're having conversations that just are energy drains, that don't feel good, that make you feel like shit. I want you to think about all of those things. Like what drains your energy? What makes you not feel good? What puts you in like a shitty state? Because once we know what that is, we can stop playing into it and we can be consciously aware of, I don't want this in my life. I'm going to remove this thing, and I'm going to remove this person, or I'm going to talk to this person less, or I'm going to stop doing this thing. Maybe it's even something as simple as eating before you go to bed or eating late at night. Like there's so many different things that we just do unconsciously that we have to bring awareness to. And this is what allows us to move into that next level. This is what allows us to be in a place that is like, that person is just so attractive. There's something about that person. There's something about their energy. There's something about their aura. There's something about their essence, right? That doesn't happen when you're in a shitty place most of the time. It doesn't happen when you're draining your energy. It doesn't happen when you're giving too much of yourself to people or to things or to activities or to habits that do not serve you. So I really want you to think about all of these things that maybe make you feel shitty, that drain your energy, conversations, clients, like literally everything. And then on the flip side of that, to kind of piggyback off of what makes you feel good, I want you to think of also, what not only makes you feel good, but what gives you energy. So this is probably going to be a little bit different than the what makes you feel good, because there's certain things that might give you energy. So for me, doing things like this, where I'm in a teacher, when I have my teacher hat on and I'm in training mode, when I am doing live stream calls with my groups, when I am on calls with my one-on-one clients, when I am writing or creating from, a really good place and I'm putting something out there on the internet, that all makes me feel like it doesn't just make me feel good, it gives me energy, it energizes me, right? So I want you to think of what are those activities that give you energy. So you're going to have two lists, right? You're going to have what makes you feel good, um, and also what gives you energy. And then you're going to have the other list of what feels shitty and what drains your energy. Now, a couple other things I want you to think of is, when you're thinking about this, like you obviously, I want you to think of everything personal, business, money. Like, I want you to think of all things because we can't just put our energy like in a box. It's ever present. It's like it's there all the time. So we can't just have energy in one place but then be completely drained in another area of our life. It doesn't work that way, right? So we have to be on the up and up when it comes to everything. So a few more things that I want you to consider is maybe your teaching style or format, like how you run your programs. Are you 100% aligned with that? Does that drain you or does it make you feel good? So I'll give you an example of this. So I used to do Zoom calls for a lot of my programs. And for some reason, when I get on a Zoom, the format just doesn't serve me how I can serve my audience the best when I have a large group of people. So if it's like more than, I don't know, I would say if it's more than like 7 to 10 people and it's like a lot of people on a Zoom call, it's too much. I'm not able to maintain my energy. In a smaller group, I know I can, but once the group gets to a certain point, I decided to move that over to doing live stream calls, because with the live stream calls, everyone was still there, but everyone kind of got to ask their questions, and I didn't have 20 or 30 people basically pulling my energy, right? So just the format of your programs as well, in terms of, how you're doing things with clients, maybe even the what do you call it, the length of your calls. I used to do hour-long calls, but I would do back-to-back calls, and so I wouldn't, like, if the call even went over like 1 minute, I would be stressing out because then it meant that I had to push all of my other calls back. And so I changed it to 50 minutes, and then I changed it to 45 minutes. And now when I give like bonus sessions and things like that, they're only 30 minutes. So it's even just little things like that that you may not be aware of. So that's just another thing that I want you to think of. Your teaching style, the format of your programs, also when it comes to your promotions and sales, what is your, the style and the format that suits you. Now, we're going to dive deeper into more of the marketing stuff as this program goes on, but I really want you to start thinking about this right now, right? Like, some people love doing live streams, love doing video. It energizes them, it lifts them up, it activates them. For some people, it's a total drain. For them, they may like speaking, they might like meeting people in person, they might like, writing. So again, really think of like what drains me and what doesn't in terms of my promotions, my sales, also even like your pricing, the names of your programs. Like, I really want everything to be in alignment, because when everything is in alignment, our energy is sky high. It's when things start to feel not right, when things start to feel like, and here's the worst thing, right? Like, if we talk about being in limbo, when you're kind of in that place where it's like, I don't know what it is, but something feels off. That's also a huge drain. So it's very important for us to be vigilant about making sure that we know what it is, right? And figuring that out. And we do that through our journaling, through our inner work, and through really just, our brain dumps and evaluating like what's going on. So like I said, it could also just be the pricing. Maybe you are like, your energy is totally drained because you know that you are giving your clients everything, but you're charging not enough. you know That's a huge one for a lot of coaches. So All of these things I want you to think about when you think about what gives you energy and what drains you. Now, the next thing that I want you to answer, and this is going to be, I guess it's kind of a piggyback, but it's just a different way to look at it, is what do you love about what you do? Because we as entrepreneurs wear many, many, many hats. We have to be the coach, right? Or mentor. We have to be the marketer. We have to be the salesperson. We have to sometimes be the graphic person. We have to be the tech person. We've got to be the social media person. We've got to be the PR person. We've got to be all these things, right? And this is honestly why I feel like not many people are up for this challenge, right? Because we as entrepreneurs, like we are very talented, amazing people, right? Being able to do what we do. But I want you to think about all of the things that you love to do within your business. So, maybe it's I love to write, I love to create my opt-ins, I love to do my live streams, I love to record my podcast, whatever that is for you. And then on the flip side, what do you wish you never had to do again in your business? Now, add on to this question is, can you delegate it? Because there's certain things you can't delegate, right? Like you can't delegate you. You can't delegate your live streams. You can't delegate your genius, right? But maybe for you, it's like, oh my God, I wish I never had to make a landing page again. I wish I never had to, post on social media again, right? These are things that, okay, maybe you don't want to do them, but you can absolutely delegate it so that somebody else is doing the work that has to be done. So what do you love about what you do? And what do you wish you never had to do again? Again, I'm going to ask this question. Is there anywhere you feel out of alignment? Is there anywhere you feel out of alignment in your life, in your relationships, with your health, with your business, with your pricing, with your clients? Because here's the deal. Even 1% off alignment will throw you off your game. 1% out of alignment will throw you off your game. So it's really important that we are paying attention to this. And I'm telling you, once you're in full alignment and flow and you're doing the things that you most desire and you plug up these energy leaks, you will become so unstoppable. You will just become so attractive. You will become so magnetic, right? The reason why you may not feel like I'm that magnetic right now is because there's some energy leaks somewhere. So plug them up. It is so important to always okay, what is happening right now in my life? What am I doing? How am I spending my day to day? And is it in alignment, right? So remember, even 1% out of alignment will throw you off your game. So if you do find something that's out of alignment, I want you to ask yourself, what can I do to get back into alignment? How can I shift back into alignment? Now, here's the thing. If you have something that is maybe part of your business, like maybe it's a formatting thing with your business, maybe you realize you don't want to do hour-long calls anymore. Maybe you realize I want to do live stream Q&As versus Zoom, whatever it is. You don't have to, if you're out of alignment with something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to burn it to the ground and start over. A lot of times it's just a little tweak in your program. It's just a little tweak in your pricing. It's just a little tweak in how you present something in your formatting that will make a huge difference, right? So really just ask yourself okay, when you discover that something's out of alignment, what can I do? How can I shift back into alignment? Another thing is the reason why I asked you very in the beginning of this module of what makes you feel good is because what makes you feel good is also the thing that will get you back into alignment. So let's just say that you're just you know what? I don't know what's going on, but I just feel funky today. I feel funky. I don't feel like doing sales. I don't feel like going online. I don't feel like writing. I don't feel like sending an email. I don't feel like doing anything. You can't really get away with that more than one day. Okay. I usually say half a day. But what you can do is you can say, okay, well, what makes me feel good? I feel funky right now, but I know that when I get into the gym or I sweat or, I let some frustration out on the mat, I just feel so good, right? Maybe for you, it's I need a spa day or I need to just chill and relax for 2 hours. Maybe I need to dance around my house. Maybe I need to watch a funny movie with my kids. When you're out of alignment, you can go back to that list. I want you to keep that list with you somewhere so that you can move yourself back into alignment, back into a feeling good place. Now I want to get into your bandwidth and boundaries. So this is really important as well. This is going to help protect you from the energy leaks. It's going to help protect you from these things that get you out of alignment. So knowing your bandwidth is a huge one. For me, I had to discover this the hard way, especially being an introvert, that I couldn't necessarily do what other people were doing online. I couldn't necessarily be the way, I saw other people being. And so it's really important for you to know like what your cap is, when it comes to how often you work, how much you work, how hard you work, how many clients you could take on, how many people you can hold space for within a certain program. It is so important for you to understand this so that way you don't overextend yourself, because if you don't know your bandwidth and you overextend yourself, that's what leads to burnout, right? Because we are, like I mentioned, we already have so many hats and so many different things we have to do that if we're not checking in and saying, you know what, I only have the capacity for this many one-on-one clients. I only have the capacity to support, X amount of people in my program and stay in integrity. So know your bandwidth is so important. Now, the next thing is boundaries. Setting boundaries, having personal policies in place is also really important in your business, whether you're just starting, whether you've been doing this a long time. And it doesn't matter. We've got to have these boundaries in place. And I highly recommend that you put them in place now before you blow up, before you start getting a lot of clients, before you start getting a lot of requests, right? Because once you have these things in place, it's easier to just let people know, like, no, right? It's easier to just say this is the way that it is, right? So super important to have these boundaries in place and know, like, what do I do when somebody, when somebody crosses the boundary? But here's the deal. People will only cross that boundary if you let them. So when you set a boundary or you set a personal policy or you say this is what my bandwidth will allow me to do, you've got to stick to that. You've got to honor your word in that. You've got to be the one that enforces that for yourself, right? Because people will push their boundaries just like a little kid. Like a little kid's going to keep pushing you and pushing you just to see how far they can get, away, or how much they can get away with. So it's going to be the same thing. People will push your boundaries only if you let them. But if you're very clear, and this does not mean that you have to go around telling people what to do, it's just like you command a specific type of thing in your life. You command, like for me, I command excellence. So anything that falls below excellence, like I know I'm going to either, rectify this thing or get rid of this thing. And so it's really important to also have these boundaries, set them now, set them early. Also, what do you do when somebody crosses that boundary, right? And taking that personal responsibility as well. I think it is so important for us as entrepreneurs to not place blame on other people, to not shame other people, to not, throw our hands up in the air and say, hey, it's not my fault. Everything that you do as an entrepreneur is your fault, right? Which is why I feel like most people don't become entrepreneurs, but know what those things are. Take personal responsibility for everything that's happening in your life, everything that's happening with your business, everything that's happening within your energy field, and everything that's happening about how you're feeling. Like if you can really take personal responsibility and claim that, you're like, no one can mess with you. No one can mess with you. You have the choice about who you get to be. You have the choice every single day when you wake up. This is what I'm choosing. This is what I'm choosing to think. This is what I'm choosing to act like. This is how I'm choosing to respond. So the next thing that I want to talk about is what is the most attractive state, right? So in terms of energy, people want to be around you because you have an attractive energy. There's something about you. It's magnetic, it's charming, it's captivating. That's what people want to be around. And the reality is that that's what people will pay to be around. And so this is why it's so important for us to be so on top of our energy, so on top of our bandwidth and our alignment, because people, this is what they're paying for, right? You could do all the perfect things in the world in terms of strategy and tactics and all of that stuff, but if your energy is shot, people will not buy. They're not going to like it. They're not going to be attracted to it. They're just, and the thing is, like, they won't even know why. They're just going to skip right over it, and they're just going to be like, yeah, it's a no, right? It's a no. I don't know why, but it's a no. So I believe that a lot of people think that being high vibe all the time is the answer. Okay? Being high vibe all the time is pretty impossible if you're a human, right? It's impossible to maintain high vibration 24/7. You're going to get burnt out. Now, obviously, low vibration is not somewhere where we want to be either, right? And if you find yourself in those low vibrations, just like we talked about earlier, you want to be able to shift out of that completely and quickly. The more that you can do work on this, the more that you can recognize these things that are draining your energy, that are crossing your boundaries, that are making you not feel good, and you're able to rectify them, the better it's going to be. So, low vibe is a no-go. High vibe, obviously it's great, but it's impossible to maintain 24/7. So what do you do the rest of the time? The rest of the time is the middle ground. And I know it might sound weird, but this is actually the most attractive state, because the middle ground is really a state of knowing, right? It's a state of security because of your faith, because you so believe that you're going to have this thing or be this thing, or that this is how your life is going to turn out, that you trust. And that is where you're going to be attractive, right? Because you don't need anything. Needing nothing attracts everything. I think that's a Tony Robbins quote, right? So when you're in that place where you're just kind of like even keeled, you're calm, you don't need anything, you are in a non-resistant state, because that, when we're low vibe, we're resisting. There's something that we're resisting, right? Or we're desperate, or we're needy, and that we know already is definitely not where we want to be. But when we're in this like non-resistant place, that is the energy that is the key to manifestation. So that's where we want to be. Calm is a superpower. I want you to remember that. So you don't have to be, and I'm not saying don't be high vibe ever. We want you to be high vibe, but also no, it's not humanly possible to maintain that 24/7. So where do you want to be? The other times, you want to be in that calm state. You want to be in that middle ground. You want to be in that place of just knowing, right? And then also be able to shift out of the low vibration very quickly by going back to your list and saying, what makes me feel good? Where can I plug these energy leaks? Where can I put myself purposely and intentionally in a state that feels good, in a state that feels, that state of knowing, that calm state, or the high vibration? So I am attaching an additional bonus audio from one of my previous mindset trainings called How to Stay High Vibe. And it's just going to be a piggyback off of a lot of the things that we've already talked about, but I wanted to share it because it's one of my favorite lessons, mindset lessons here. So that will be attached here as well. I want you to go through the worksheet here, fill everything out, just have a real strong awareness of what's going on in your life, right? Have a real strong intention for how you want to be, how you want to show up. Because if not, you're just going to fall prey to everybody else's agenda. And that is the last thing we want. Energy is so, so important. Again, remember, your job is to maintain your energy. Everything else is just a minor detail. So if you can really wrap your head around that and stay focused on what makes me feel good, what puts me in a place that's attractive to people, and maintain that, you're going to have opportunities come out of the blue. You're going to have clients come out of the blue. When we're in this like needy, desperate state, it doesn't feel good. People don't want any part of that. So, again, I'm super excited to give you this lesson today on energy management and elevation. I promise you, it's going to change your world if you can really get into a place where this becomes your priority.